welcome to the Disenfranchised Podcast, now part of the Mattel and Mars Bar Quick Energy Chocobot Hour. We're that podcast all about those franchises of one, those films that fancy themselves full-fledged franchises before falling flat on their face after the first film. I am your host, Stephen Foxworthy. Joining me, as always, he's got the touch, he's got the power. It's my co-host, Brett Wright. Brett.
Hello, Stephen.
How are we doing today, buddy?
Doing all right, man. I got flashbacks to the subliminal message, Mr. Movie Phone from Josie and the Pussycats there at the beginning.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, me neither.
Nothing to see here.
No, not at all.
And also joining us, inexplicably dancing to Weird Al in the middle of a junk planet, it's Tucker. Hey, Tucker.
Hi, Steven. How's it going?
Not bad, man. I got my caffeine here, and I'm ready to talk about this movie that we watched.
That's rad.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Times.
It's all right.
Is it?
We're having a great time.
Not really, but we'll get into that. We're gonna have a good time.
We're gonna have a great time. It's gonna be a good discussion. And what movie are we talking about today, Brett?
We're talking about not the Michael Bay Transformers that you may be
that one
familiar
got sequels.
with. That one got sequels.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously, we're not going to talk about it.
That one is called Transformers.
Correct.
Yes.
One word.
This one.
Drop the thes and the movies.
Two
it's
of them.
cleaner.
You got the Transformers, the
colon
movie.
The movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, just.
Which is a good indicator as
Wonderful.
to how this movie treats its audience.
Yeah.
Like drooling idiots. That's what it treats them like.
I'm going to rip this Band-Aid off right now and tell you that I skipped 20 minutes of this movie and I didn't miss a fucking thing.
No.
I didn't skip any of it. I watched the whole thing and I suffered the whole time. You were there.
Well, look, man. This is shades of Food Fight. Like, I had to skip parts.
You had to walk away, and
I had to walk away and like skip through some parts. I couldn't do it. This was the same. It wasn't as bad. It was at least coherent.
Ish.
Was it though?
Ish. Well, because I mean, the soundtrack slaps and the voice cast is pretty cool. But like, so at least it had that going for it. But yeah, no, I just scrubbed through a whole 20 minutes and picked it right back up. Like I didn't
scrub through a whole 20 minutes of 1986's The Transformers, the movie. Directed by Nelson Shin, written by Ron Friedman, and starring Peter Cullen, Judd Nelson, Robert Stack, Neil Ross, Susan Blue, Lionel Stander, the great Frank Welker, John Moschitta, Buster Jones, Paul Elding, Michael Bell, Scatman Crothers, Casey Kasem, Corey Burton, Leonard Nimoy, Don Messick, Jack Angel, Eric Idle, and for some reason, the late great Orson Welles.
Can we just stop a minute and think about how Scatman Crothers was the best part of this movie? Because even Orson Welles, like they did a thing to his voice where he's like,
well, you know why they did that, right?
Because he's old as fuck and he died 5 days later.
He was he was in such poor health that all of his audio came back with like rasping and wheezing. It was barely usable, so they had to like filter it through a bunch of modulators in order for it to even be usable for this movie, which is,
I'm just saying, everybody's voice in this movie is put through some kind of filter. The most offensive being what they did to Eric Idle's voice. I'm not kidding you guys. It's something, it hit something in my brain. I almost got sick. Like what they did to Eric Idle's voice like upset my stomach. I don't know how that's even possible.
Well, that was sort of the catalyst for me scrubbing. Like that's the part I scrubbed through is when they first meet that whole faction.
Like, did you get like a lump and like you started feeling the acid bubble up in your
stomach?
It
wasn't that bad, but it was definitely grating on me to the fact where I couldn't listen.
Like it was painful to listen to. Like there's bad, and then there's like fuck off. But the thing I was mentioning is that everybody's got like a robotiness to their voice. But there's Scatman Crothers is over here just being Scatman Crothers as a robot. And I thought that was hilarious.
Crothers.
Every time he popped on, I was like, yes, thank you for giving me a reprieve in this.
You got the shining in you.
Vile shit. Like
Hong Kong Phooey, #1 super guy. Like, hell yeah.
Yeah, Scatman Crothers. Woo, for the win.
Absolutely. No. In this, both Scatman Crothers and Orson Welles, this is their very final film performance for both of them, which, oof.
Go out on top, fellas. That's...
Yeah, right.
Hearing Orson Welles talk about this movie, or reading what he said to his biographer Barbara Leeming on the day he recorded this, is really hilarious, because you can tell he does not give two shits. And it's just like, guess what I did today? I voiced a toy, some stupid toy show in Japan where the robots change from one thing to another. I'm a planet, and I'm trying to fight something named something or other, and eventually I tear myself apart on screen when they defeat
He's
me.
like, I think I might be a unicorn of some kind. Maybe I'm reading that wrong.
But yeah, no, he's oh God, it's hilarious. Like, absolutely hilarious listening to him talk about this movie and his role in it. But yeah, no, the last thing he recorded like days before he finally died. So he's in such poor health that, and I texted friend of the show and fellow Orson Welles enthusiast Hope Lickner last night as I was watching this movie, and I'm just like, I'm realizing now just the extent to which Orson would go to make a quick and easy buck. And she's like, well, can you blame him? Because, you know, the guy basically got, you know, blacklisted after his blank check. And I was like, I mean, no, I don't. But, you know, it never really stood out to me just the extremes to which he would go to make money.
Look, you know, get that paper, Orson Welles.
I mean, absolutely.
And it's so easy. Like, well, and I was telling you, they just bring the equipment to his house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Record him right there. And then he's just free to go and die 5 days later. Whatever. No big
whoop. One of the reviews said the irony of Orson Welles playing a planet-sized eating machine is lost on no one. Which, I mean, oof. We got to bring the fat shaming back even after he's dead. But yeah, he was a large man when he passed away.
He's a big guy.
He's a real big guy. Like, big guy.
Literally and figuratively, I would say.
Correct. Huge personality. One of my all-time favorite like historical figures. I own so many Orson Welles biographies. My favorite filmmaker of all time. Yes, big Orson Welles fan. And the first time I get to talk about him on this podcast is for fucking Transformers, the movie.
For this pile of stinking sludge that we watched.
So
he plays transforming Galactus.
Yeah, he's basically if the Death Star and Galactus fucked and had a child. That's Unicron.
Woo.
If Galactus fucked the Death Star, it would be Unicron.
I love how the cast list is like, you know, stunt cast, and then every other voice is Frank Welker.
Yeah. Which, I mean, honestly, that's how you did it in the 80s. Now you can't afford him anymore. Do it,
kind of like
you kind of can't afford him anymore, though. Like, if you can afford Frank Welker, that's what you do. But if you can't afford Frank Welker, then you don't, because he's like the preeminent voice actor in Hollywood now. Like, he's the guy. Like, he's the guy. All the voice actors in Hollywood are like, oh, that's fucking Frank Welker. But like up until very recently, he was the only actor that had ever voiced Fred Jones on Scooby-Doo. Like
Scooby-Dooby-Dooby-Doo.
I think up until Pup Named Scooby-Doo, I don't think he did. And then the new movie Scoob, I think, was like the first time he had not voiced the actual like character of Fred. Even on like Robot Chicken or Family Guy, whenever they would do a parody of Scooby-Doo, they would get Frank Welker to come in and voice Fred. Or Freddie Prinze Jr. on Robot Chicken, but yeah.
He did not voice Fred in Scoob, but he voiced a pterodactyl, according to IMDb.
That tracks.
So he was there.
Is that all they could afford?
Well, I think
we can't afford for you to play Fred.
Honestly,
we can afford for you to play pterodactyl.
It was probably stock footage anyway. They probably just had to credit him because they used it.
They got him to. He did play Fred in the Supernatural Scooby-Doo crossover episode.
Yep.
That's fun.
Yep. Very fun.
Which I did not hate. Like
all the initial voice actors kind of fell off, but Frank Welker really did stick around and stick in there. Along and you know, fellow Scooby-Doo voice actor Casey Kasem's in this movie.
Casey Kasem.
I'm Casey Kasem for like a hot second.
There's a radio station here, 92.1. It's an oldies station, and they play old episodes of Casey Kasem's Top 40.
I've heard of other stations doing that as well. Yeah,
and it's really cool because there's so many there's so many forgotten like hits that people forget about. It's just like the show I'm trying to do on the Patreon. It's kind of like that with music, where like it was a big deal back in its day. And if you ask somebody that lived through that era about that song, they'd be like, "Holy shit, I totally forgot about that."
I have a podcast idea about songs like that. One of my friends and I were talking, and we labeled these songs the Forgettables, because they're songs that you just, when you hear them again, all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I forgot all about that. I absolutely remember that song. So we have a Spotify playlist of just songs that fit that criteria for us specifically. But yeah.
Yeah. I come across those randomly on TikTok every once in a while, and they immediately get added to my Spotify playlist.
That's 100% how it goes. Yep.
Just unlocks a memory, and oh my God, I forgot about this song.
Yeah. A big one for me, honestly. We mentioned Scatman Crothers earlier, but Scatman Johns, I'm the Scatman. Like that's one of those for me. Yep, absolutely.
Most recently, that happened to me with Tracy Bonham's Mother, and Yellow Jackets reminded me that existed. And that was literally my favorite song for like 2 years in high school. And then I just flew out of my head, and I forgot about it for 20 years.
Like it does.
Shit happens.
Like you do.
So let's talk Transformers, gentlemen. We are all children of the 80s. We were all born in the decade of the 1980s, within, I would say, probably a few years of each other. What is our history with this property? Brett, I'll let you go ahead and go first.
Well, I don't really have much of one. I wasn't a Transformers kid, because there's kind of the big three, right? It's like G.I. Joe, Transformers, or Ninja Turtles. Mm-hmm. And I was a Ninja Turtles guy.
I'd say Thundercats probably, and He-Man kind of fit in there too.
Sort of.
A couple of those kind of fell right before our time, but
yeah, those two fell right before our time.
We're kind of right on the cusp for Transformers, even, honestly, I would say.
A little bit. It's weird, like finding out, like because I watched on one of our favorite YouTube channels, Secret Galaxy, an episode about real Ghostbusters, and it blew my mind that like it came out like late 80s and was done by the 90s. So it's crazy that I watched it and loved it as much as I did. And that's pretty much how all of those old cartoons we remember were. Most of them came out in the 80s, and we were watching reruns.
Mm-hmm.
So speak for yourself.
Or,
no, you're right. There's definitely some crossover there.
They'd be recycled for like after school entertainment or whatever. Like
definitely, all that shit was syndicated for years and years and years.
For years afterwards,
yeah. So no, I never really got into. I wasn't a robots guy or kid, I guess. I wasn't a guy yet. I was a kid.
But Brett, they're robots in disguise.
Yeah,
sure.
More than meets the eye to those.
But I also wasn't like a one of those kids that played with like toy cars and whatnot either. Sure. So it missed me completely. I didn't like the cars aspect, the vehicle aspect, or the robot aspect.
I was gonna say if you're out on either part or both parts, then this is probably not a thing for you. Then
yeah, and which this movie reminded me of why I hated the live action one later, is they all sort of look the same.
It all blends together.
It all
kind of hard to tell them apart unless you really know them. Yeah,
that's this whole movie is just all these robots. It's almost 90 minutes of just robot fight after robot fight. I don't know who's who or what the fuck is happening, and I don't care.
Yeah, and the ones that I do care about, you killed off in the first half hour.
The first fight, yeah.
In the first 20 minutes.
The only Optimus Prime
dies at like 26 minutes.
Yeah, which I hear a lot of people that love this movie like talk about Optimus Prime's death in this movie as like, the death of Bambi's mother.
No, they're delusional. They're delusional. They can't see past their nostalgic goggles.
For Gen X and older millennials,
this
what
movie's
Bambi's
idiots.
mom was for boomers. No, it's for kids, Tucker.
Yeah, idiots.
For kids.
For kids.
We were all kids once, and we were all idiots when we were kids. That's the nature of being a child, is being a
We're all
fucking
idiots
idiot.
now. It's just going to take us another 10 to 20 years to figure it out.
Yeah, but we know a lot more now.
Now we have enough self-awareness, hopefully, to be able to acknowledge the fact that we're idiots. But
a lot of us have more than others.
That's where wisdom comes into play, and some people just don't have that.
Yeah, wisdom is their dump stat.
Mm.
So yeah, like Transformers, not a big fan.
Fair enough.
Were
Did you
they
have
more than
any?
meets?
You didn't have any of the toys or anything growing up?
Oh fuck no. No, I
Okay.
was collecting real Ghostbusters toys, Ninja Turtle toys. Those were my two. They also had a huge line of toys for the Beetlejuice cartoon. Collected all those.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say. So you definitely like found your niche pretty early.
Yeah. Is it like spooky shit and or sci-fi shit? That isn't robot related. I'm there.
More the soft sci-fi, not the hard sci-fi.
Yeah. Basically, I got into hard sci-fi.
Sci-fi,
later.
sci-fi combined with martial arts. That was where you're.
Yeah, I mean, look.
Can my sci-fi have punching and kicking, please and thank you?
Oh, so I was a big Power Rangers kid too. So yeah, you're right.
That tracks.
Yep, accurate.
Tucker, what about you? What's your history with the Transformers?
Hi, it's me, Tucker, and this is my history with the Transformers. I was just caught the tail end of like when all the Transformers and all that stuff was a big deal. I was born in '82, so I did have a bit of a childhood in the '80s proper. But I never gave a shit. Like I liked He-Man. He-Man was my thing, and then I moved on to Ghostbusters as far as the toys that I played with and shows that I watched.
So the opposite of the kids of Ghostbusters too, then. Interesting.
Transformers never I mean, like, I always thought that it was cool. Like, the concept for the toy I thought was really cool, but I never gave enough of a shit to like get more into it than, like I said, the McDonald's ones. Those were rad to me. That was enough for me because I had played with other kids' Transformers, and like you have to put them together exactly correctly. And you're a kid, so you're manhandling everything, and if you fuck it up, you're gonna break that motherfucker. Like, I don't know how they sold those to kids. I broke so many other people's Transformers when I was a kid because I was too stupid to figure out how to put them together. Like, so they just never appealed to me. They appealed to my curiosity, but the end product was not something I ended up being interested in.
Fair enough.
And I had a He-Man that you put the pop caps in and you push the little thing and his chest smoked. So you can't beat that.
Okay. Sure.
True, I suppose.
I guess.
Yeah. I also had Battle Cat. That was really cool. Battle Cat was the shit.
Right on.
He-Man was like, little known fact, He-Man was my jam back in the day.
Oh, man. We should have had you on our Masters of the Universe episode all those years ago.
My sister was way into She-Ra, so like we filled each other in. Like
Princess of Power, yeah.
What was going on, you know?
Did you catch the new Kevin Smith He-Man series?
No, I don't have any desire. Like, He-Man's like Led Zeppelin. Like, there was a time in my life where they were very important to me, but now I just don't give a fuck. We've broken up, and we'll always have the good times, but I don't need to ever see them again.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Right. So I don't care about He-Man anymore. I like to think back on it fondly, and I like the old Masters of the Universe movie because it's just so fucking dumb.
It is really fucking dumb. See our previous episode on the Masters of the Universe movie.
Oh, man.
That regrettable piece of cinematic entertainment.
They're like, we don't have a lot of money, so I guess we'll time warp to
most of this on Earth. Yeah. Just use the backlot, I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
5 sets on the backlot.
Painting for 10 minutes. We'll have a little bit of Eternia, right? We're good.
Right.
We have the power. He said it himself.
Right.
I love my favorite thing about the He-Man TV show is that even though each episode has new and different animation, they only have that one animation for his transformation.
Yep.
So in the later seasons, that piece of film gets really like old and crappy.
Grainy.
The episode is very crisp, and all of a sudden, why
reanimate it?
Strip of animation 300 times.
Why do it again? This works just fine.
No, I agree. It's wonderful. I just love the quality change there in the later
quality.
episodes. Yeah,
nice. Yeah, because we've been running the same piece of film through this over and over and over again.
And we didn't make any duplicates. We just cut the same one into every episode.
Yep.
Used it so many times. It's got wheel marks on the frame from the projector.
That's kind of that company's MO for all of its cartoons, though.
Yeah, right. Dude.
The transformation sequence in the
hell
original
yeah.
Ghostbusters cartoon is the same way. They just
I
use
mean,
the
but
same
look,
one over
these
and over and
these
over again.
shows, and I should mention 20 minutes into this episode that this is kicking off a theme month for us, which is 80s animation, and the next 3 movies that we're covering, this one and the next 2, are all connected to Hasbro toy sales, and in fact, these animated series all existed to sell toys. Thanks to Ronald Reagan, we can now make, feature or 30-minute toy commercials every week and then turn those into 90-minute toy commercials for the big screen that kids have to pay to watch. That was, and every episode had a new toy. Every episode introduced a new character or a new device or something that would sell another toy in the line.
That's why this movie exists.
Oh, I know.
This movie exists because they needed to kill off the old Transformers so they could have new ones.
Which is why all the old Transformers die in the first 20 minutes, with the exception of like 4 that survived to the end of the movie. Like Bumblebee and Jazz and a couple of others, and everyone else dies.
Man.
It's Soundwave. Soundwave makes my boy Soundwave. I fucking love Soundwave. He's the best. Soundwave's the best. My history with the Transformers is very limited. I kind of missed Transformers, although I did have one of the toys growing up. I didn't play with it a lot because I remember having a really difficult time changing it. Like just, my tiny little, not quite dexterous hands kind of having a hard time. I probably had to use my teeth to like pull pieces out or something, like to get them to separate.
I had tiny idiot hands too, Steven, when I was a child.
I mean, now I've just got fat idiot hands. Like they're not much better, not that much more dexterous. Now I've got, borderline early stage arthritis from all the knuckle popping I've done in my life.
Yes.
But that's my own. That's my
myth.
own.
That's a myth, by the way. Look that up. Knuckle cracking it's not bad for you. And it doesn't cause arthritis.
Then it must be all the typing because my hands are
That's
fucked.
what it is.
My hands are kind of fucked. So, but yeah.
At least you
so
don't have
that's
carpal tunnel. Could be worse.
Yet.
No.
Yet.
Don't jinx it.
But yeah, so I mean, I don't have much. I didn't really engage with the cartoon. In fact, I think this might have been the first time I ever watched this movie. Like, I feel like I remember watching it as a kid, but going back and actually watching it, like I don't remember any of this. So this might have been the first time I ever saw this damn thing. This one missed me. I was not one of the aggrieved children in the theaters because, as I've mentioned before, we didn't really see movies in theaters much when I was a child. So because of Jesus. So yeah.
Damn it, Jesus.
Dang it.
Jesus would have gone to the movies. That's all I know.
Jesus, let Steven watch movies, please.
It's not. It was less about Jesus and more just about how we chose to interpret Jesus, or how the denomination that we affiliated with ourselves chose to interpret Jesus. But yeah.
Fair enough.
But yeah, so I missed this. I did catch one of the movies that we're covering later this month, a couple of them on home media, but this one I completely missed altogether. So yeah, I don't have any memory of this, and it was tough to watch this one for the same reason that you guys were saying. Like, I didn't have the base familiarity with a lot of these characters, with the exception of like Optimus Prime. So I'm watching this movie and I don't know who these characters are. So the stakes are, let me just check my notes here, non-existent for me, just because I don't know. I don't have the connection to these characters that a kid growing up watching this show every day after school would have. So it didn't, yes, this movie begins with genocide, but it made no impression on me as a grown ass man at all.
Well, yeah, because I mean it's genocide of robots, which you don't even really, it doesn't register. Yeah.
This
But, I mean,
film,
and they're characters that for the movie, it's like you have to have a familiarity with the show for these deaths to mean anything. And I did not watch the first 2 seasons of Transformers before I sat down to watch this movie last night. So I didn't have like that base familiarity with the exception of Optimus Prime, who is the GOAT. As far as Transformers go, like it meant nothing. And I knew his death was coming because that was the thing that traumatized my generation.
that's the whole movie. This film, that's okay. None of that matters, actually. I'm here to tell you, spoilers, none of that matters, because this entire film is devoid of any artistic integrity. Everybody that worked on this film is there for one thing, and that's a motherfucking paycheck. Nobody
Which we will never fault
gives
them
a
for.
shit. Nobody gives a shit about this movie, which I get it. As like a working artist, I get that. But this is the most soulless piece of shit I've ever seen in my life. Everything from the writing, the voice acting, the animation is like, there will be, you get the Orson Welles balls or whatever he is in that movie. That always looks great. There are a few things that always look great, but the animation quality just goes from one end to the other, from scene to scene. There will be one scene that is beautiful, and then the next looks worse than the fucking cartoon, the TV cartoon. It's so inconsistent. This movie really rubbed me the wrong way. And I tried. You guys, I tried so hard. When it started, I was like, oh, those pew-pews. I recognize those pew-pews. I watched cartoons in the 80s, so all these sound effects it's very nostalgic for me.
The opening credits is actually pretty cool. They're doing like a Superman, the movie thing. Like,
I tried so hard and I tried to get into it, but just like 10 minutes in, it's just, this is just garbage. Garbage, not fit for human consumption. Probably one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. And not only is it bad, but it knows it's bad and it doesn't give a fuck. It actively gives you the finger the entire fucking film, and it's disgusting.
Well, and again,
so what you guys think about the movie?
The purpose behind the movie is inherently craven, because it's the same purpose as behind the show. This is a product designed to sell other products. Like we talked last week in the Transporter episode, Transformers, and it's Pride Month. Man, we didn't plan that, but that works.
But it's not supposed to be a means to an end, though, Stephen. It's supposed to be two things, commerce and art, coming together and making something they can both be happy with, instead of commerce just coming in and butt fucking everybody until they submit and put out whatever shit they decide to put out. Sorry, go ahead.
Tucker, have you met Ronald Reagan?
Hello, fuck Ronald Reagan.
I mean, yes, that is the official stance of the Disenfranchised podcast.
Jeez Louise.
But I mean, no, that was his whole fucking MO, man, is just capitalism above all things. So, like, yeah, we get this, like, very craven, carnal, soulless, cynical cash grab.
Ugly.
And we're going to have a couple more of those this month that we're going to talk about. The last movie we're covering this month does not fit that, but if this movie came out today, it would be written by AI. Mm-hmm. Honestly,
it would be directed by AI. It would be voiced and animated by AI.
In this case, it's a bunch of corporate suits that want to sell a new product line. And so this is their product line rollout. They don't do a press conference. They don't do a press release. They legitimately make an entire feature-length film to sell a new line of toys to children.
Which, like I say, that's fair. But the art and the commerce have to meet. You don't come and steamroll the art and expect people to be all about it. Because that's the nature of Hollywood. That's the business. That's why it's show business and not like show charity or show do whatever the fuck you want. No, it's show business because people have to make money. And I get that. I understand that. Like I said, they have to meet in the middle. You can't makes me so mad.
But no, I mean, last week I talked about
mechanical.
The Hire short films by BMW, which are short films that are designed to sell cars. Like they're just these little short films directed by A-list Hollywood directors, and the whole purpose is, hey, buy a BMW. And this it's an 85-minute toy commercial. Is 100% what it is. Like, we want to sell Unicron and Galvatron and Ultra Magnus and Rodimus Prime toys. And so here are all these brand new character, Wreck-Gar. Let's sell Wreck-Gar toys. Everyone's favorite character, Wreck-Gar, whose name is not even mentioned on screen. And Cup. There's a character just called Cup, but spelled with a K, so it's cool.
I can respect that.
and RC, and like there's just, you know, roll out a bunch of new characters, and those are the ones that we're going to focus a majority of our time on. We're going to kill off all your favorite characters at the beginning, which is the worst thing about this movie, is you kill off all the established characters at the beginning of the movie. First of all, you set it like 20 years in the future. Like it takes place in the far-flung year of 2005. And then you then proceed to kill off every character that everyone is familiar with the exception of a handful of fan favorites, and not even their real favorites, just like Bumblebee and Jazz and Soundwave and a couple of others. But like Starscream's gone, Megatron's gone, Optimus Prime is gone. Like fucking everybody's just done.
That's the most egregious thing that really is the biggest example of what we're talking about, and that's what happens to Megatron in this movie. Is that like Megatron doesn't die; he gets transformed, no pun intended, into a completely different character. They just refer to him as that character going forward. They don't say that like, oh, this is Megatron.
New voice actor, the whole nine. Like he's just a different character.
He's just a different character, and they never address it again. It's why.
He goes from being Frank Welker to being Leonard Nimoy. And then when he appears in season 3 of the cartoon, he's back to being Frank Welker again.
Because who cares? Who cares?
Yeah. Nobody cares.
Nobody gives a shit.
Because again, the purpose is not the characters. The purpose is selling those damn toys. And it feels very much like let's make Rodimus Prime happen. Like... I was looking on the IMDb trivia page, which is, you know, a cesspool of whatever, but there was someone who's like, you know, this movie is kind of like The Godfather. Vito Corleone dies really early in the movie and passes things off to his successor, who's really inept and kind of bad. And then when that guy dies, they pass it off to, you know, the young hotshot who's been in exile, and he becomes the new leader. I'm like,
yeah, I could see where that would make sense if you're an idiot.
Yes, let's compare this movie to the fucking Godfather.
Jesus.
There's another one comparing it to Star Wars, too.
I'll bet. I'll fucking bet.
Fuck right off. Just fuck right the fuck off.
Oh.
But, I mean, look, we should say this. I think we're all decidedly pretty negative on this movie. There are people out there who legitimately do have the strong nostalgia feelings for this movie. Like, there are people who legitimately do love this thing.
And I would advise them to watch it.
No.
Watch it again. Take the nostalgia goggles off and watch it again.
Brett, you're telling people to take nostalgia goggles off?
I was just about to say, coming from someone
that's ironic as fuck.
All the time.
Yes, but there's no amount of nostalgia goggles that makes this movie good.
Because there's plenty of times where I have legitimately gone back and watched something that I have a lot of nostalgia for and gone, oh man, this makes me sad. This is actually bad.
Mm-hmm. The 80s Ninja Turtles cartoon for me. I can't watch that anymore. It's dumb as fuck.
Yeah, it's not. That's one of them. That's one of them. I have a lot of nostalgia for that cartoon, but outside of the theme, it's not good.
Oh yeah, that theme still slaps.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah, it does. Whereas Real Ghostbusters still holds up.
Oh yeah, it definitely. Extreme Ghostbusters too.
It does.
Still love that show. Extreme is the shit, man. I'm sad that got canceled after like a season.
They put a shit ton of them up on YouTube last year, and I watched the first appearance of Sam Hain. That's like one of the first Halloween episodes.
Yes,
so good, still so good.
It is. That's where you're selling a toy, but you are making something worthwhile to sell it. You are making art. You're not just jerking off in the corner and then giving it to the print guy, which is this movie.
Pretty much. Yeah.
So should we probably get into the plot on this thing?
Please, I hope it's not me because I have no idea what happened in this movie.
I don't think any of us did, but we got to do this thing. So,
all right,
Brett, let's break out the D6 of Destiny, and let's see which of us is recounting the plot. While you get that die ready, I will tell everybody listening for the first time, hey, welcome to the plot in 60 seconds. This is where Brett rolls a die and tells us which of us is going to be recounting the plot in 60 seconds. So, Brett, assign the sides and tell us who's recounting.
Well, we'll do 1 and 2 for Tucker because he's the least into it. I don't know, 3 and 4 for me, 5 and 6 for you because we're kind of the same.
I was gonna say I'm definitely not more into this than you, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, we're about the same on it. I think we don't hate it as much as Tucker, but we also
I don't think anyone can hate this as much as Tucker.
No, that's true.
This movie's great if you like bullshit.
And with that, Tucker, I'm sorry. It's a 2.
Oh shit!
Okay. No, that's fine.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put 60 seconds on the clock while Tucker prepares himself mentally for what he's. This is 2 weeks in a row for Tucker. I'm just glad it's all. I'm just glad the pressure's off me right now. Can I just tell you, I've never been more glad to miss 2 weeks in a row as I have been these last 2 weeks.
Last week's was almost as bad as this.
I mean, mine was just going to be like a bunch of robots fight one another. The end. So.
Well, what I'm gonna do is I'm
some
gonna
of them die. Some of them don't.
Full disclosure, outside of the deaths at the beginning, I honestly have no idea what happened in this movie. So I have pulled up the plot on Wikipedia.
That happens.
I'm not going to read it, but like I'm going to skim it as I'm trying to figure out what happened in this movie.
That is a common thing that we do on this podcast. So
I have never done that, so I thought it would be pertinent to mention that when I am doing it.
I'm not used to. I stopped doing it. It got way funnier. So
it did. Yeah, that's why Brett stopped. Yeah, I will if it's a movie like this one or the one that we watched last week where the plot is just memory hold for me. Like I don't remember a damn thing about it, even though I watched it the night before. I will occasionally hit Wikipedia just to like skim so I can figure out what the hell happened in the movie. But I've got 60 seconds on the clock. I will give you the 30 and 10-second warnings as usual, and your time starts whenever you begin.
Okay, so I remember this part. Orson Welles eats a planet. I remember that. I remember someone saying the Decepticons conquered the Autobots' home planet, but I don't remember actually seeing that happen.
Nope, off screen.
And then they all meet somewhere and fight, and Optimus Prime dies, and like he takes the glowy ball from his chest and gives it to some other dude who becomes Optimus Prime, essentially.
30 seconds.
And then there's the robot fight, and then more robots fight, and then there's a point where like they do this trick where like they pull off half their ship to make the other guys think that they're dead or something, and then more robots fight, and then Eric Idle comes in, and I'm not kidding.
Seconds.
Like you guys think I'm being silly, but it actually upset my stomach. It's some kind of imbalance in my brain. And they fight, and
that's time.
And then they fight more, and eventually it ends. Like it's over at some point.
And then they chant this really kind of creepy mantra about like all will be one or something like that. Like it's kind of
and
weird.
they play the Stan Bush song "You Got the Touch" like 20 times.
I mean,
no, I'm with you. The music in this movie is good by itself, but the way it's just ham-fistedly slapped in here, it just every scene is a new needle drop. They're like, oh, we can't do this on the show because we can't afford it. So every scene is going to have a legitimate song in it. And it gets fucking annoying after a while. After about the third scene, it's like, okay, guys.
Well, and they do that thing that I know you love.
We have some score.
They do that thing I know you love because you mentioned it in our Departed episode where they play the same, like, well, we paid for this, so they play the same song like over and over and over, and that's what they do with the Stan Bush song "You Got the Touch," which was originally written for the Sylvester Stallone film Cobra, which I think we could probably cover on this podcast at some point.
Yes,
we should probably do an 80s action.
We should do a Stallone month.
Is there enough Stallone? I don't know if there's enough Stallone to cover a whole month.
Yes.
Stallone September, here we come.
Oh God.
I will help you. I'm knee deep in Stallone lore, so I will help you choose those films. Continue, please.
But we have but that song gets played like every time the MacGuffin of this movie, the Matrix of Leadership, which is the dumbest name for any MacGuffin ever.
I thought it was the Autobots Matrix. I thought, what's the fucking. They call it the
Something
Allspark
about
in the
the
Michael Bay
Matrix.
movies. I
They
don't know why
do, and
changed
that's
the name of it.
essentially what that is. Like the Matrix of Leadership gets renamed the Allspark for Michael Bay's movies. But yeah, it's essentially this orb, this glowing orb, this orb with like a geode inside of it that like bestows the power of Optimus Prime on whoever gets it. So that's the MacGuffin of the movie that Unicron's trying to get because it's the only thing that can make him unstoppable. But then Galvatron, aka Megatron, gets it and tries to use it against Unicron, which makes him go nuts and eventually
Is that what happened in this movie?
dies. In the original script, he apparently tears himself apart. Like Unicron
There was
literally
a
destroys
script?
himself. Believe it or not, this film actually does have a screenwriter, and this screenwriter was absolutely opposed to Optimus Prime dying. He's like, you cannot kill off Optimus Prime. He is like the character. You cannot do that. And the suits are like, don't worry. We got so many much bigger things planned. Don't worry. And the bigger thing they have planned is fucking Rodimus Prime, a Judd Nelson pink hot rod, named Hot Rod, picks up the Matrix of Leadership and becomes Rodimus Prime. Rodimus, because his name is Hot Rod, you see. Rodimus.
What I like about it is since he's taking over the mantle for Optimus Prime, calling him Rodimus Prime makes it sound like you're saying Rotimus, like he's rotting, like he's a zombie Optimus Prime.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I choose to
Well, that's
think
a
of
banger of an idea. Give me zombie Transformers.
Zombie
Let's do it.
Transformers?
I'm into it.
Maybe, I mean, we're doing this episode this week because there's another thing we forgot to mention up top. 40 minutes into this episode, we'll mention this. There's a new Transformers movie out this week. So
Yeah, robots that turn into animals.
Beast Wars, based on which is the actually only Transformers cartoon I watched. And you'd think I would be excited for the Beast Wars Transformers to show up in this new movie.
I would say,
I'm
yeah,
not,
they're in
because
here.
totally shits all over the lore of Beast Wars. So, like, why should I give a shit?
Are you surprised? Are you
I'm not.
surprised?
This is
No.
also the first Transformers movie. Well, I guess Bumblebee was really the first, but the first Transformers movie labeled as a Transformers movie, not directed by Michael Bay.
Interesting.
By the way, when the next Transformers movie comes out, we can totally cover the Bumblebee movie because that one's not getting a sequel.
Like, I don't know. Like, I gotta say, sidebar real quick. I can't.
Or we could do the GoBots movie, Tucker.
For some reason, I don't know why. But this is how my brain
It's
works.
garbage.
Whenever I hear Bumblebee,
Mm-hmm.
I think of the scene in the second Ace Ventura movie.
Bumblebee Tuna. I knew
Bumblebee
exactly
Tuna.
where you were going with that.
Bumblebee
I knew
Tuna.
Exactly where you were
We
going
all
with that.
three were thinking that since the first time Steven said Bumblebee. Yes.
Okay, good.
I was going to
That's
say I
not-
knew exactly where you were going. Yeah.
This is why I love you guys.
I was trying to find a spot to sneak it in there in a clever way.
Nah, don't
Maybe I
no,
still will.
just throw it in.
Maybe I will.
Just toss it in there. It's all
Maybe
good.
that's how we'll end the show is by bidding each other a Bumblebee tuna.
But yeah, no, this oh man. So yeah, this movie. Look, man, if you enjoy it, I'm glad you liked it. This is not for the disenfranchised crew though. Like it was
Not for anyone with a functioning brain. No.
Wow, dude.
Okay, come on. We never go that far. We always let them enjoy what they want to enjoy. We don't.
Yeah,
No,
we're not
This
going
is where
to be
I
a
draw
dick.
the line.
Okay,
I'm gonna be a dick about this.
We're not going to be dicks. Tucker's
No,
a dick.
JK.
You can direct all your hate to Tucker.
No, JK. Here's the thing. If you like this movie, your thoughts are valid, and I respect them, but you've never been more wrong in your life. And that's where I leave it.
I mean, yeah, that's you've walked right up to the line and said hello to it. I'm glad you stopped there. That's all.
I spit over the line, but then I turned around and walked away.
Yeah,
Wow.
That's just how I do.
The disrespect.
But yeah, this is not for us. If you do like this movie, I don't know. Let us know why. Let us know why you enjoy this. Does it go beyond nostalgia? Like,
I want to
and
know
I think,
if you
I think if you have like a familiarity with these characters, like if these characters were important to you as a child, I imagine that this movie probably does mean more to you than it does to us. But we started this out by not really having any connection to the show, this property, or these characters. So this really, I mean, I watched the first 2 Michael Bay movies in theaters, and then I kind of bowed out on Transformers as a whole franchise. Like I just kind of tapped out on it.
I gotta disagree with you there, Steven. I want to know if you like this movie, unironically.
Tucker wants to know how you sleep
not
at night. Because
of the nostalgia. I want to know what your 5 favorite films of all time are. And also, what was the other thing I was gonna say? Oh yeah. Nope, I forgot. Shit. It was even better than what I just said.
Me over here not being a mind reader.
Nope, I forgot it again. Shit. I'm not even stoned, man. Like, I am not inebriated in the slightest right now.
It's a little early for you to be inebriated or stoned. We're doing a morning recording today because that's when our schedules worked out.
Dang it, that makes me mad because it was a good thing. I'm getting in my own way trying to remember what it is. But anyway,
and just making some really great content in the meantime.
Yeah, well, him and Han and
yeah, Tucker, cut this out.
This is a great radio.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut it out. Gosh, I just want to remember what it was though. It was so good. It was a really good question. Shit, you guys, I'm gonna cut this out. Give me just like 30 seconds to try and figure out what it was. Okay. What had you just said, Steven?
Sidebar. Okay.
What did I said? I said
yeah, you were talking about how people might enjoy this movie.
Did it go beyond nostalgia? I was talking about how if they had a familiarity with these characters and with this property.
Oh, I got it. Okay, all right, we're back on track. So for me, I disagree with you there, Steven, because if I watched a movie that was this just slap in the face, middle finger to the audience bad, and it was about characters that I loved, I would hate this motherfucker even more.
They do retroactively undo a lot of this stuff, though. Like in season 4, like they bring back Optimus Prime, they bring back Starscream, like they bring back a lot of the characters that they killed off.
Probably without even saying anything. They probably don't even acknowledge this movie exists after a while.
Why would they?
They do. Like there's I watched a video because again I have no familiarity for this, but I watched a video. It was like an entire Transformers retrospective on like the 80s cartoon. And I watched the bit about the movie and a little bit after about the fallout from the movie and kind of how they addressed it. But like the head of Unicron comes back. Galvatron remains the primary villain for the rest of the series. I mean, it runs for like another season and a half. So like, it doesn't really get like a lot more to it after this movie, but like they do reference a lot of this stuff again. Like Rodimus Prime becomes a main character and they kill off Optimus Prime yet again in season 3. Like he comes back and they kill him off again. So like they do reference this stuff a lot. And for the bulk of the early part of season 3, it's Rodimus Prime is the leader. Galvatron is the villain.
Interesting. I mean, I did think it was weird, like you could actually kill off a Transformer because even in this movie,
and so easily.
Ultra Magnus gets like killed, and then they immediately put him back together.
They put him back together. Yeah, so like no Transformers.
Why couldn't we do that to any of the other characters? Unclear.
You can't.
So the movie can happen, Steven.
So we can sell new toys. I understand.
Right.
But Ultra Magnus is pretty much just a white Optimus Prime. That's all he is.
Yeah, I kept expecting him to introduce some unsolved mysteries to me.
Exploring why people like this movie tonight on Unsolved Mysteries.
Exactly. That was the Twilight Zone theme. I don't know what we were doing.
There we
That's
go. The Unsolved Mysteries. Yeah.
I was gonna say I don't even remember that show freaked me the fuck out. My dad loved it. But I was always like, they didn't solve it. Why didn't they solve it? Is that guy out there? Is he outside my house right now? Like that, that show freaked me the fuck out as a child.
Like how they would switch gears. There'll be like a serious mystery where it's like, this person has been missing. If you have any information, call me personally at home, Robert Stack.
And now aliens. Now the story about aliens.
Also, what about this spooky ghost?
Right.
Don't call us about this one because we know it's bullshit. Don't call me at home.
And then there was a part of me that always conflated that with America's Most Wanted, or like the William Shatner Rescue 911. Like all those
similar
shows kind of like
shows.
bleed together in my mind.
Unsolved Mysteries was the only one with Bigfoot and aliens and ghosts, though.
Right.
And if you haven't watched the Netflix revival, it's actually pretty good.
It's not Unsolved Mysteries, though.
I mean, because it doesn't
It
have
may
Robert
be a
Stack,
good-
but
No, I mean, like, it's not even put together like Unsolved Mysteries. It's just a regular old crime documentary show. Like, I feel like they just slapped that name on there for
That's what we
name
do,
recognition
man.
because it's good. I watched it. It's good, but it's not Unsolved Mysteries. It has nothing
Like
to
we
do
have the
with
right to
show
this
Unsolved
thing,
Mysteries.
so we're going to put
Yeah.
the name on it, and that's going to be what it is now.
Yeah. Like, good show, not Unsolved Mysteries.
yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. Let me backtrack. I should not have said a good thing about Netflix at all. Netflix is bad, actively bad.
First of all, how dare you, sir?
Oh, but them Fear Street movies, though.
God damn
Them
it!
Fear Street movies, though.
Aha!
Fuck, you're right.
Got him.
Ah!
Got him.
Look, even a
They're
broken
so
clock is
good.
right twice a day. All right.
Right,
Touche.
3 times a day in this case.
Hilarious.
And those babysitter movies are the shit too. Your girl Jenna Ortega's in the second one.
Those are
I haven't
pretty
seen the
good,
second
too.
one yet.
Pretty
I saw the
good,
first
yeah.
one. I thought the first
But
one was pretty fun.
that's the Netflix effect is they pump out so much new content, like anonymous new
And
content.
they don't advertise
that
any of it.
When you find something good, you just forget about it immediately. You watch it and you're like, oh damn, that was real good. And then until somebody mentions it to you 3 or 4 years later, you're like, oh fuck. That
Well, and
was a
that-
thing I enjoyed.
They don't advertise, and it's part of the cultural consciousness because they put everything out bingeably. Like they drop an entire season of a show in one day, and so you binge it all in a day. You're excited about it for a couple weeks, and then you forget about it till the next season drops.
Yep.
Which
you
I
can't
think
watch
is
TV like that because you can't digest the episodes. You forget everything about it.
Exactly. Like honestly, it pisses me off. That's what pisses me off about how Disney Plus treated the new Muppet show. Like Muppet Mayhem, they just dumped that entire thing on Disney Plus all in one day, and I was like, you know that the serialized method works with stuff like Mandalorian and all those fucking Marvel shows. You can't extend the Muppets the same courtesy. You did it with Muppets Now. You release that week by week. Like, come on, it's not that hard.
I did
the
my
bingeable
best.
model sucks, and I hate it. And
It
get
does.
rid of it, please.
Please. Thank
Yeah.
you to real ones like Yellow Jackets and Barry and Ted Lasso, who are just releasing, well, not anymore because they're all over, but
Right.
like they're releasing episodes weekly instead of dropping them all at once. That's why those shows are so goddamn, that's why they're so successful,
Right.
because people have a chance to digest them and talk about them for a week.
I
It's
remember
water cooler fodder, man.
That's it. I remember the big thing about when Twin Peaks: The Return hit, because the model was dump the whole season, and David Lynch is like, no, it's going to be week by week. Like that's how it's designed. That's how it needs to be done. And Showtime rolled it
Yeah.
out that way. And you know what? That I was talking about that show for months as a result.
yeah.
And I know a lot of other people were as well. So like that model, and Mandalorian sticks around in the public consciousness for weeks at a time. All those Marvel shows stick around longer in the public consciousness because they're released week by week. You talk about them longer versus Stranger Things. When that dropped, there were spoilers online the next day for what happens at the end of that show.
The next hour,
And I was
there
so
were spoilers.
fucking pissed because I'm like, I haven't seen this yet. And now I don't know if I want to because the spoilers are right there online now. Like the next day, like if I didn't watch it the day it dropped, I was going to get it spoiled for me. And I fucking hate that.
It's a shame that they do Stranger Things like that because from the first season forward, I've had enough self-control my rule is I let at least 3 days pass between episodes. And Stranger Things, outside of the second season, is a damn good show. And it's a shame that it's put out the way it is, that people binge it and they like it and they're going to watch the next season. But giving it a couple days in between each episode, it lingers. Like, I know what happened in those seasons. Most people, you ask them, oh, you remember season 4 of Stranger Things? They're like, oh, well, I watched it, but I don't. But which one? Which season was that? What
That's
happened
it.
in that one?
Right.
Like,
And
it's
they
embarrassing.
tried to prolong that with season 4, the most recent one, by releasing it in 2 parts, like they did part 1 and part 2. So they kind of did it that way, but like shows like the Great British Baking Show or the David Letterman Show. Like Netflix is capable of releasing week by week. They just don't want to because that's not their business model.
Well, they're more
And
interested
if ever
in
there was a time to change the
they want
business
that
model,
quick
it's
money.
now. Exactly.
And with that quick money, they're not about the long term. They're all about the right now.
They want
like
the new
everybody else.
subscribers. That's why most
Yeah.
shows on Netflix get canceled after 2 seasons, because the first season brings in a lot of viewers. Then they all come back for a new season of that show they loved,
but not as many.
But not as many. And then season 3 doesn't. It's just diminishing returns. So Netflix is like, get the shit out of here.
Right.
Streaming is evil.
Netflix also mandates that all of their shows end on a cliffhanger. So there's never any resolution and there can never be any resolution for any of their shows unless the creators decide to stop willfully. Like something as astronomically successful as Stranger Things will get that opportunity. But something like Santa Clarita Diet, for example, which was a great show that got canceled too early. That's never going to get that resolution. Same
with Archive 81.
Mm-hmm.
Archive 81 is the last real Netflix show I watched. No, I watched Wednesday. And this was funny. They want a cliffhanger at the end of a show so badly that even for Wednesday that didn't have a cliffhanger at the end, they still had to put a blurb that said Wednesday will be back. Like,
did you guys like that show?
I thought it was all right. I did.
I
know this is a hot take that like I did not like who they cast for Morticia and Gomez, but
that was maybe my favorite part of the show.
That was the only thing I liked about that show.
Was Luis Guzman as Gomez. Like I fucking love that.
I don't know. I didn't like his performance. I wasn't a fan.
My avatar for Netflix is Luis Guzman as Gomez.
Yeah. I liked him as Gomez because he was very reminiscent of the original Charles Adams
100%. Yep.
Which is something I used to rent from the library all the time. I didn't get
that though.
Really? You haven't looked at pictures of those side by side? Because exactly fucking like him.
Look, I don't know. Look wise, maybe, but like performance, not at all. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
I mean, for people like you and I, Brett, it's hard to beat Raul Julia because Raul Julia is who we think of when we think of Gomez. Like, what do you think of when you think of Addams Family? It's Raul Julia and it's Angelica Houston. Yeah. It's kind of hard to get that out of our minds, but unfortunately, like other actors will go on to play those roles and bring Raul Julia will always be the best for me, but I am willing to engage with other actors who are trying different things because that's the nature of performance.
Well, I knew you would go down this path, and that's not why I didn't like his performance. I wasn't like Raul Julia pilled. It was just like,
I mean, although you could be excused for being Raul Julia pilled because
absolutely
not,
of course. But like, I was trying to separate the two. But like, I have enjoyed other Gomez performances, and I just did not care for Luis Guzman's. That's all.
I think his version of the character is the most accurate to the source material, but I think the two movies from the 90s are peak Addams Family. That's the best Addams Family you're ever going to get, even though it's not like an exact it's not exactly like the source material, right? But for me, that's Addams Family Prime, right there. Like that's the peak. And Wednesday, I just didn't like it all. It was like a Hi Fellow Kids show is what it felt like to me. Like a bunch of adults trying to write for kids. It just
the premise felt very
me.
Chilling Adventures of Sabrina to me.
It did have that vibe. I understand
how everybody liked it. Like everybody loved that show, and I'm like, why?
Well, yeah, and I didn't love it. It grew on me, I guess, because I enjoyed it for the most part. This is what sucks is like the scenes with Morticia and Gomez were my least favorite scenes, and it sucks. Like, but just because they felt shoehorned in the whole time. Like, well, we have to have the rest of the Addams Family show up. We can't possibly not do that.
I'm also not a big Fred Armisen fan, and the fact that they cast him as Uncle Fester was kind of like, oh.
Whereas I liked him as Uncle Fester. I don't know. Maybe I'm just different here. I don't know, but. You guys,
out, Brett.
Well, Steven hasn't even watched it.
I haven't even watched it. I just know what I've seen from the trailers and the fact that everyone was really into it. And so, of course, if everyone's into a thing, I'm kind of like, should I?
Everybody was into it for a couple weeks because, of course, they released it all at once.
Exactly, because that's Netflix's thing. And honestly, I think it stuck around a lot because of TikTok and the Wednesday dance went fucking viral. So that became the thing. So, if something can go viral, then we'll latch onto it and we'll get more of it. But if it can't go viral, then we're not.
Yeah, which I mean, look, was that one of the best parts of the series? Yeah, it was, honestly.
I didn't make it that far.
Oh, really? Same. You didn't
Yep.
even... Oh.
3 episodes.
3 episodes.
Oh, gotcha. It gets better.
That's my thing.
But 3 episodes, yeah, that makes sense. It gets better though.
Was that on? Did we say that on this episode, or did we say that on What Are We Watching? The 3 episodes thing.
I think it was What Are We Watching?
Okay, so for context, then Tucker gives a new show 3 episodes and then decides whether he's in or out on it. So he gave Wednesday the requisite 3 episodes and then decided he was out on it. That's what we were referencing there. If you're a patron, you'll get the context for that this Sunday when the new episode of What Are We Watching drops.
So Tucker, you never even got to Fred Armisen as Fester.
No, I like Fred Armisen a lot, but I don't see myself enjoying that casting choice, honestly.
Well, it's hard to have conversations like this when you didn't watch it all and Steven hasn't watched it at all.
I can dig it.
So makes sense.
I guess we should just move on because this conversation is going to go nowhere.
To bookend this conversation about Wednesday, Brett, glad you had a good time.
Thanks.
That's it. The end.
Transformers the movie opens August 8th. Okay. 1986. It opens at number 14 at the box office.
Number, right?
It opens at 990 screens, opens to $1.8 million, and would go on to gross $5.8 million. So not a good multiplier. Made up some of that in home media sales, but for the most part, this was not it. The number one movie in the country in August 1986 was a little film called Aliens. What if there were aliens? A lot of sequels in the top 5 this week, actually. Top 3 are all sequels. In 4 weeks, Aliens has grossed $47 million.
Rightfully so.
Right. It's a sequel that I would put on par with the original. I don't know. I honestly, on any given day you ask me, I will not be able to tell you which one is better, but I love them both.
Aliens is a movie that is art that made money and sold toys. Just saying. You can do that. There's synergy there if you make it work. If you give a shit.
In second place, The Karate Kid Part 2. Up from number 4 the week before. It's been in theaters for 8 weeks, and it's made about $83 million in those 8 weeks.
It's got my favorite recap beginning, Karate Kid 2, because they're leaving the tournament, and the guy from Cobra Kai, Reese, he like tries to fight Mr. Miyagi, and Mr. Miyagi like acts like he's about to kill him, like snap his neck, but instead he squeezes his nose. And he says, "Merp,
merp," just like Alanis Morissette in Dogma. And in third place, in third place at the box office this week, another sequel. This one suffered from the previous entry not being well liked, but it's Friday the 13th, Part 6. Jason Lives, what many consider to be the best in the franchise. That one has made, in the 2 weeks that it's been in theaters, has earned about $13.2 million. In fourth place, new this week, a little movie called One Crazy Summer. And in fifth place, a movie that just recently got sequelized, Top Gun. Tony Scott joint.
R.I.P.
And R.I.P. to a great one. And rounding out the top 10, in number 6, we've got Ruthless People, holding steady. In 7, Nothing in Common. That's the Tom Hanks, Jackie Gleason, What If They Were Related movie. In 8th place, previous episode of this podcast, Howard the Duck, which in 2 weeks, this is literally the next week after the Howard the Duck, it's down from 3 to 8, and it's earned $10.8 million. Very rarely do we get a chance to follow up like that. But huge drop off in its second weekend, down 46% in its second weekend. despite adding more theaters. In ninth place, new this week, a movie called A Fine Mess that I know nothing about. And in 10th place, the Nora Ephron written, Mike Nichols directed film Heartburn, starring Meryl Streep.
Steven loves Meryl Streep.
This movie again goes on to make just a little over $5 million. Does make some of that back up in home media, although some changes are made. The word shit that was added to the movie to get the PG rating so that kids would have to bring their parents to see the movie with them is edited out in the home media release and not put back until 2000. And also they put a postscript at the end of the film saying that Optimus Prime will return because people were so pissed off about Optimus Prime dying.
That single shit surprised me. I was like,
same. I rewound it because I was like, my partner and I are watching this and she hated every second of it, like more than probably anything I forced her to watch. But
we do agree on something.
But they said, "Oh shit." And I was like, "Did he just say oh shit?" in a car, and so we rewound it, and sure enough, we're both like, he did. That's so weird. But yeah, no, that shit is in there. But yeah, this place is like, it's in like the 40s, like for movies of 1986. It does not do very well. But again, through home media release and nostalgia, develops a cult following. The Letterboxd score on this one is a 62, or I'm sorry, the Tomatometer score on this one is a 62%.
Excuse me?
I know. The critics' consensus, a surprisingly dark, emotional, and almost exclusively cynical experience for Transformers
fans. Did we watch
fans.
the same movie? How much did Hasbro pay these critics to say that shit?
Okay. Now you're sounding like a DC fuckboy. Stop it.
I mean, but come on, you guys. We watched this movie.
I know. Look,
critics say worse things about movies that are fine. There are movies that are fine.
It's
that
almost
have like
like
a 13
art is
on
subjective.
Rotten Tomatoes.
That's
it's almost weird.
Like
critics don't know what they're talking about.
If we were talking about art, that would mean something.
I'll let my comment sit there, and then I won't say anything else.
Yeah, I quite appreciated your comment there, Brett. That's very good. Good times, everybody.
And the Metascore is 43 based on mixture average reviews from 9 critics. And the Letterboxd score is a 3.6. Brett, out of 5 stars, how are you rating Transformers the movie?
I have to give it a 1 because at least it's a coherent film and not food fight. So I can't give it half a star. I won't put the two on the same level. So I have to give it at least a 1. So okay. 1 star.
Tucker, what about you?
None stars.
I gave it 2. It's fine.
Can you give something 0 stars on Letterboxd?
You just don't. Yeah, you just rate it and you don't leave any stars. We gave Food Fight 0 stars.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll give this a half then.
Okay. So I gave it 2, which means we probably average out to about a 1 between the three of us. But yeah, this is not a good movie. This is not. So I don't know what you want from us, but
it broke me, boys.
Yeah, I know. We were getting those texts.
In fact, I have an announcement, which is an amendment to my original announcement. I had a very, very emotional reaction to this movie, a very negative emotional reaction. Mm-hmm. And I tried to convey that to you guys through my text, where like this was a toxic movie for me. Like, it put me in a bad mood all day, gave me all the bad feelings. Like, I'm not joking. Like, it sounds really fucking stupid, but this movie upset me. Like, it actually upset me at my core. And I didn't think that I wanted to continue with this theme month. I was going to let you guys do it yourselves.
You were.
But we were fine with that.
We were going to let that happen.
Yeah.
With so much argument and pedantry.
Well, no, but ultimately we both said that's fine. Like, we're not going to force you to do
at no point are we going to force you to do something you don't want, man.
Yeah.
That's not us.
But I think that there's no way that these other 3 films will be as bad or worse than this.
Well,
There's no way.
The third film we're covering was changed in production because of this one. I don't even know anything about the one we're covering next week. I have no context. And the one we're covering at the end of the month is not even related to a toy line. So, and we have guests for that one. So
I'm gonna stick around because this episode went a lot better than I thought it would. I appreciate you guys letting me get my thoughts out without, I don't want to say challenging me, because I do like to have a good discussion about things, but I appreciate you guys understanding how much of an existential butt fuck this movie was for me and not pushing me too hard on it. I appreciate that.
I mean, look, man, it's hard to argue with just how craven this movie really is, because it feels excessively cynical. Even in its
soulless,
it in its execution, it is on its fucking face. This is a toy commercial. It's an 85-minute toy commercial. So like, it's hard to argue with it's hard to argue with just how soulless and craven and devoid of integrity this thing is, because it is in that way very much the embodiment of 80s cinema, or just the 80s in general, just like 80s culture, because it is craven and anything for a buck and capitalism above all. Like that is what this movie is on its face, and it doesn't try to hide that.
Yeah, because after reading your text, I was like, he's overreacting. It's probably not as bad as he's saying it is. It seems extreme. And then I watched it and I was like, no, he's right. My God, this is so just egregious.
Yeah. And I mean, I went in with an open mind. I'm like, I've seen a couple Transformers movies. Like, I had a toy. Like, can this be that bad? I did. I had a toy. I don't even remember which one it was, but I had one of them.
The fact that it's just a fight with a couple minutes of, breathing room, and then anher fight.
It is just one fight after another.
A little bit of exposition and then another fight.
We're jumping from action set piece to action set piece so we can show off how many new cool toys we're going to make. Like that is what this movie is. And it's one of those after another. And even the plot doesn't make much sense, because the plot is written around the toys that they need to make. Like the notion of the matrix of leadership, that was a late addition to the script. Like, they just kind of threw that in because they needed something for Optimus Prime to pass as a mantle. I think at one point it was literally going to be like a tiny version of Optimus Prime would like pop out of Optimus Prime's chest and then crawl into Ultra Magnus's chest or something.
That sounds fantastic.
Right, doesn't it? God.
That would be my favorite scene if that existed. Like, I'd be like, this movie gets 1 star for that scene.
Right. But no, like, I mean, I had to give this movie at least 1 star because of Orson Welles. Like, I
That's fair.
I had to. Fair. Orson Welles gets a star because he's Orson Welles. I mean, my favorite scene in the Muppet movie is the scene where Orson Welles turns around in his chair and it's Orson Welles, and I'm just like, gee! Like, I don't even care. Like, it's just, he has one line and the rest of it is just presence, and I fucking love it. And it's the very end of the movie, but it's still my favorite scene in that damn movie. So if we were doing a top 5 list of top 5 movie cameos, that would definitely be in that list. So
nice. I'd be down to do that list.
And speaking of top 5s, swing on over to our Patreon, patreon.com/disenfranchpod. And while you're there, you can check out our most recent episode of Disenfranchise, the show behind the paywall, where Tucker and I most recently counted down our top 5 David Fincher films.
That was a good episode.
That was a good episode. A lot of fun discussion on that one. So check that out. Honestly, this month is kind of the right time to do it, because this month we are offering a free trial for anyone who wants to check out our Patreon to see what it's all about. You can go over and sign up for 7 days, absolutely free. There's literally hours of content behind that paywall.
You guys, there's so much content on our Patreon.
And you also get access to the weekly show that we referenced earlier, What Are We Watching? That drops every Sunday. You have access to that. So many episodes of Disenfranchised, a few episodes of Unenfranchised. movie commentaries, trailer commentaries, movie recent release discussions on movies like Scream 6 and Weird the Al Yankovic Story. Like there's a ton of stuff. Brett and I early on did a commentary for Addams Family Values. If you like that Addams Family discussion that we had earlier, we talk about that. Like there's a lot of good stuff back there. So definitely check that out. Patreon.com/disenfranchpod. You can also shoot us an email, disenfranchpod@gmail.com. Let us know. Did you like Transformers? Is it mostly nostalgia or is there something else that draws you into this movie? Let us know. If you want to tell Tucker why he's wrong, that's the place to do it.
Please tell me why I'm wrong.
Or you can find us on social media. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and Facebook, and now YouTube @disenfranchpod. You can find us on all of those platforms now, and please follow us and subscribe to us on all those platforms as well. Give us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever your podcatcher of choice is. Help us find some more listeners like yourselves. We are all individually on social media as well. I'm your host, Stephen Foxworthy. You can find me on Instagram, Letterboxd, and Twitter @Chewy Walrus. Brett, where can we find you these days?
Tucker, could you put this somewhere else before this? Because I didn't do the video game corner at all.
Oh, shit.
I didn't have a chance to do that.
Yeah, that's fine. Do your video game corner and then say where you are on social media, and I'll.
Sorry.
Wrap it all in. No, it's fine, man.
You're
I was
good.
trying to indicate. I should have just raised my hand. I was
You
trying to
should've- you
indicate I had
should've-
something to say.
You should have just
But-
started talking over me.
I don't.
You know,
I don't like to do that.
I mean, you
Speaking
could.
of
It's
things,
fine.
speaking of forgetting things, you guys, do you remember the segment that we forgot to do from the beginning, but then we were doing it for a while, so shut up, but then we forgot to do it again, and we haven't done it in like 3 months, so shut
We
up
haven't
again.
done it in so long. Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah,
You remember
yeah.
that? I was just thinking about that the other day.
Could probably do that too. Does this movie
Maybe.
deserve a sequel? No. I mean, I think it's pretty unanimous. No, it doesn't.
Hey, while
No, I don't
we're
want it.
while we're sitting here in edited zone, in the negative zone here, our Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy episode on YouTube got 28 views,
Nice.
and
That's
Transporter
pretty-
Refueled got 12, that's kind of
Better
like
than I
first
expected
two
for that.
First 2 episodes we popped on there got 2 and 3 views respectively.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty excited about that. Pretty wild. Anyway, so
Right.
video game corner. Action.
Yes. Let's take a little trip over to my corner of the world here, where we talk about the video games. Because Transformers, you better believe they had video games, because they're perfect fodder for such a thing. Was there one based on this movie? It's a little unclear. The first one came
The
out.
Transformers : the movie : the video game.
Yeah, no, see, and then that they never released one like that, but there was one released around the time this movie came out, called Transformers: The Battle to Save the Earth.
Do we need to do an Oops All Video Game Corner on Transformers games? Are there that many?
Well, here's the thing: there are, but most of them are based on the Michael Bay movies.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
So I was like, nah, we're not going to do a whole episode on those because they're not even.
Maybe when we cover the Bumblebee movie.
Yeah, we could probably do it then because there's enough to do one for that. Because I can't even, because most of them are just. The hell is that noise? Oh, they're cutting the grass outside. Sorry,
I was going to say, I can't hear anything.
Okay, good. Yeah, no, it was like, this is such a loud ass noise.
Zencaster usually does a pretty good job of cutting out ambient noise. Like, you can't hear my air conditioner running in the other room.
Oh, yeah, no, I can't.
And it's pretty loud.
Right. Okay, so maybe I should start over. I will start over.
Okay, that means I'm going to have to redo my Transformers, the movie, the video game joke.
This is a mess. So let's take a real quick trip over to that corner of my universe where we talk about the video games.
The video games.
Because the Transformers, of course, they lend themselves very well to the video game format. Now, was there one released for this movie specifically?
Transformers: the movie: the video game.
Yeah, which would have been a hilarious title.
I
This
agree.
movie lives in my colon.
But not specifically. Although there was one that was released around the time of this movie called Transformers: The Battle to Save the Earth. But it was only released on the Commodore 64, which is kind of popular, but not really. Once the Nintendo came out, it was done. So there was that. But the very first game came out in 1985 for a system called the Sinclair Spectrum, never even heard of, and the Commodore 64.
That's it. Once again, the ZX Spectrum.
Ah, okay. That makes sense. Developed by Ocean Software, a company that would become really well known for shitty tie-in games later in the 90s. Then you get the Transformers Mystery of Convoy, only in Japan, released in 1986 for the Nintendo or the Famicom over in Japan. Then a few of these only Japan releases, like Transformers: The Headmasters in 1987 for the Famicom Disk System, which we never got in America. Then you get, and that's it for classic Transformers in terms of video games. You think there would be more? Not really.
There wasn't a lot you could do with them back then. The technology was so limited, like besides having like maybe a shoot 'em up or a platformer, like
which is what a lot of these were. Yeah, which is what a lot of these were. Now, when it comes to the Michael Bay movies, so many video games, you have no idea. But for now, we'll get into that later when we talk about the Bumblebee film. But for now, that's it.
That's all of them.
It's unfortunate, but yeah.
If Steven were here, he would have a nice transition ready for us.
He would.
He gone.
This is a whole ass mess. You're gonna have to do so much.
We lost him. We lost him. Well, it's right at the end, so it won't be hard to find. Like, I'll take the parts out, put it in different tracks, and then reassemble it. It won't be too hard. Like initially, cutting it up will be hard, but I don't think putting it together will be very hard. Plus, I've got tomorrow night off, so I'll probably do that tomorrow night. So I'm not rushing to do it Wednesday night like I was this last week.
Cool.
6 hours on Wednesday I spent putting 3 episodes together and putting them up on their various distribution platforms.
Man,
that was a lot of fun. That was like my whole day. That was the day I listened to well, no, that was the day before that. Never mind. Yeah.
Well, cheers, man. We appreciate all your hard work. Seriously.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, Brett's done with his video game corner, so now he's going to give us his socials.
Brett, where can we find you on social media these days?
You can find me on Instagram and Letterboxd at sus_warlock.
Fantastic. Tucker, what about yourself?
On YouTube in the usual spot. And I got my Instagram for my mugs.
That is on YouTube, Ice909, and on Instagram at Tuck_mugs.
Thank you, sure social media manager Steven.
In the show notes, just for anyone interested. I
recently posted my mug, guest mug.
That's true. Yes, true. We do have the very first guest mug, which is Brett's. Brett's Resident Evil mug. So if you want to know all about why Brett loves Resident Evil, make sure you check out our episode on Welcome to Raccoon City that we put out late last year or earlier this year.
Now that we've broken the seal on guest mugs, if there are any listeners who are also followers of the Tux Mugs page, you can submit your mugs to us with a photo. Just follow the format of the actual Instagram page. You can email that stuff to us, and we'll pop it right up there on the gram.
Yeah, if we got gmail.com, shoot those over.
We gonna space them out.
Mm-hmm.
Can't I'm not saying that anybody's gonna send us one, but if 3 people send us one all at once, it'd take about a month to get all those out because I'm not trying to put them all out in a lump.
Right.
But yeah, send us your mugs.
Send us your mugs. And that is all we have for our episode on Transformers: the movie from 1986. Yeah, that's all we got. So that's been our episode. This has been the Disenfranchised Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Foxworthy. For my co-hosts, Brett Wright and Tucker, until next time, we bid you a Bumblebee Tuna.
Bumblebee Tuna.
Bumblebee Tuna.
Bumblebee Tuna.